What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, that's right. We are back, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are already subscribed to this channel, you probably know we've taken a little hiatus and we went over to America to go see mom and dad, spend some quality time with them. But yes, we are back. That's right, we're back on YouTube and I'm back in Manila. And today I want to talk a little bit about how I managed to get into Manila, and it's honestly not that hard. So if you guys are watching this video, you probably are trying to figure out how to get to Manila and how the entire quarantine process is. And in this video, I'm going to try and make the process, or rather explain the process as quickly and as simply as possible. So some of you guys might know Manila and the Philippines in general has been changing their quarantine rules month after month, and it is super annoying. Like, things just don't make any sense. But what else is new? It's the Philippines, right? The thing that I want to kind of stress upon is right now it is February 26th, and as of February 1st, 2021, the Philippines actually changed their quarantine rules from a fairly straightforward, fairly short in duration quarantine to now a basically 1-week quarantine inside a hotel. Now, there's a couple of things that you guys have to realize with this quarantine in a hotel. One is if you are an OFW, then you don't have to pay for your swab and you don't have to pay for your hotel. It is going to be covered courtesy of the Philippine government. Again, you have to be an OFW, a seaman, a seafarer, a overseas worker, and you have to be registered as an OFW with the Philippine government in order for you to get that free hotel. Now, if you're like me, not a registered OFW, but a Philippine national, you are able to enter into the Philippines with no issue. You don't even have to be a dual citizen. As long as you're a Philippine national, you can come back home, and that's the equivalent of repatriating yourself. We are actually going to cut this video right now because someone is in either a police car or an ambulance outside, and I'm sure that's super annoying. Or maybe we can just wait until the siren goes away. There's traffic outside, so that's why it's taking a while for the police car to go past. It's still going. As I mentioned, foreigners are not able to enter into the country, but if you are a dual citizen or a Philippine national, you can enter in as you please. It's basically you just coming home and repatriating yourself. Now, it's not that easy. It's actually quite easy to book a ticket. When you book through Google Flights, Booking.com, Agoda, whoever you use, they don't actually ask you any information on what you're doing in the Philippines or what your business case is, whatever. You buy the ticket as you normally would. However, there's a couple of things that you have to do prior to flying, prior to getting to the airport to make your life easier. The first thing is registering with the Philippine Red Cross. What that is just taking down your information, what your address is here in the Philippines, what your date of arrival is, what plane or what your flight number was, basic information related to your travel. You'll have to register that, and then they will give you a QR code that you will then use to present to the airport. If you don't manage to get that done in time, that's all right. They also have you'll have enough time, and you'll also be able to scan a QR code in the airport to register your profile with the Philippine Red Cross. All it is they just want to know who's coming into the country, and they want to somewhat track who is coming in through the airport. Another thing that you'll need to do is download the Traze app. That's T-R-A-Z-E, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. In my experience, the airline, Shana Airlines is what I flew in, they actually asked to show, or they actually asked to see that I downloaded the Traze app. However, I'm here in the Philippines and I haven't used it or opened it once at all. So I think it's one of those things, again, a lot of formalities here in the Philippines, a lot of rules that need to be followed but don't really make any sense. Just something that you need to consider and something that you should be aware of before you get to the airport. In terms of checking in the airport, I left from JFK. There was not that much to deal with. Again, they asked to see the QR code from the Red Cross. They asked to see that Traze app, and then they also asked to see the hotel booking. Now, that was where things got a little bit complicated for me. As you guys can see, I'm in a hotel. I'm actually in Privado in Makati. And the thing was, I booked it and I spoke with the hotel a week before flying out, and everything I thought was all set. The hotel took my passport information as well as my flight itinerary and said I was all set to go to the hotel once landing in the airport. I actually even booked a private car to pick me up from the airport and take me directly to the hotel, and the hotel took care of all of those logistics. And they also took payment for it. However, Privado Hotel in Makati was not on the Ashana list of approved hotels. That provided me with a bit of a delay on check-in, and I had to sign an indemnity form from Ashana basically saying that if I were to be deported from the Philippines, it was not their financial liability and I would have to pay for my return flight back to JFK. Of course, being a bit overconfident like I am, I had no issue. I signed the indemnity form without any problems because I don't want an issue anyway, and I was able to get to the hotel that you see me sitting in right now. But before getting to the hotel, it's actually quite complicated to get out of the airport. The reason why it's a bit complicated is because, number one, the Philippines is just disorganized in general. We all know this, and you guys can bash me in the comments below, but we all know that things in the Philippines are a bit more complicated than they should be. So in a separate video, I'll actually show footage of the entire process of getting through the airport, but I'll tell you just very quickly, the flight was super normal. It was what you expected. We wore a mask the entire time, the food service was normal, I was able to drink what I wanted to drink on the plane, and things only started getting difficult once I landed in Manila. So what had happened in Manila? We got off the plane and then we were sent to a holding room. However, the holding room was only the first of two because the actual holding room that we needed to be in was occupied by another group of people that came from a different flight. So we had to wait until the flight from Japan was done being processed, which took about 30 minutes. And then after that, we walked across the hall into the actual holding room, which consisted of a bunch of tables or booths where the staff at the airport were taking down our information. So you might ask to yourself, why did they need to take down information? I don't really know. Even though a lot of my stuff was pre-booked and all taken care of before actually physically arriving in Manila, they still had to double check all of that, and that's what took a while. The entire process of them checking my paperwork actually took 2 hours from the time that we landed. So to be honest with you, if there was a time that I was exposed to COVID during my entire trip from New York, JFK, to Seoul, Incheon, to NAIA in Manila, it was probably in that little holding room where there were a bunch of people and there was no social distancing, and some of them unfortunately didn't even know how to wear a mask. But that is for a different video. Essentially, what's going to happen when you get to the airport is you will sit down, you will wait in line. The first booth you will go to is a booth where they will check your hotel reservation. Now, just a pro tip, please either print out your stuff, or if you're a millennial like me and you don't really like printing stuff anymore, take screenshots of your hotel reservations. Lucky for me, I have a Philippine Globe number and my cell phone works just fine because I have an active cell phone number here in the Philippines. However, you don't want to rely on the Wi-Fi in NAIA in order to look up your hotel reservations. So please screenshot them before you get to the third world airport and potentially not have cell signal or working Wi-Fi. They're going to ask to see screenshots of your hotel reservation, and they're going to take photographs of that on their personal phones as well as your passport. Don't freak out. I know it's a huge privacy breach and probably not the right thing to do. However, there's no sense in fighting the system. It's not going to change. So once they confirm your hotel booking, and they're going to want to see that it's a 7-night booking, aka 1 week, then you go to another booth where they will check to see how you're actually going to leave the airport. So there are only a few options. You can either use a taxi, and there's 2 types of taxis, a coupon taxi or a metered taxi. The metered one goes by distance and the coupon one is kind of a pre-agreed rate. or you have to show that you have a hotel arranged pickup, which is what I had. So all I had to do was show them that I have a prearranged hotel pickup, and then from there I was able to go to the next booth. So the third booth is actually the most important booth that you'll have to deal with in the airport, and that is the one where you have to pay for your swab test. That's right. As I mentioned earlier in the video, if you are a non-OFW and just a Philippine national or a foreigner, you will have to pay for the swab test, the RT-PCR test, out of pocket. That test is facilitated by an entity called PADLAB, which to my knowledge is just the laboratory that's affiliated with NAIA or Ninoy Aquino International Airport. And what you'll need to remember is you are going to need to pay for it in cash or in credit card. So here in the Philippines, they typically don't accept American Express, so don't forget to bring a Visa card that doesn't have any foreign transaction fees to make it easier for you. Make sure your credit card isn't on a travel lock, or if you do have Philippine money, prepare your 4,000 pesos. It's 4,000 as of the time this video was shot. It could go up, and just an important note, they don't do Forex quite well, but they do scamming quite well here in the Philippines. And for whatever reason, it's 90 USD for the test, but it's only 4,000 pesos if you pay in local currency. Now, 4,000 pesos equals right about 80 bucks, but for whatever reason, they charge you 90. So I don't want to talk about where that $10 goes, but if I were you, I would keep the $10 in your own pocket and just use a credit card. That way, if something does happen, you do have some recourse and you can always file for a chargeback. Now, once you get your payment processed, they give you this thing called an OR. For those of you guys not familiar with how the Philippines works, that's right, this is an official receipt, OR. And without this little piece of paper, you will not be able to get the swab up your nose. So don't lose this piece of paper. This handwritten piece of paper, mind you, proves that you have paid for your swab. All right, so when you're done with that station, you will go to the fourth station, which is the final one in the holding room, and they will give you barcodes. These barcodes that are conveniently printed on some sort of back paper and don't look very sticky, they are designed to be linked to the actual test that you will receive. So this is another piece of paper that you're going to have to keep with you, and these two pieces of paper will be taken by the laboratory officials that will be scheduled to go to your hotel 5 days after you land. So for me, I landed on the 22nd of February, and I will be getting my swab test tomorrow on the 27th of February. And without these two pieces of paper, I can't actually get that swab test. Once they're done with the swab test within 24 hours, they'll actually email me the results. Those results then I email to the front desk at the hotel, and once that happens, the hotel will then apply for a certificate or a pass for me to actually leave here. Because since the 22nd of February, I've been stuck in this hotel, not being able to leave the room, and I've been ordering takeout delivered to my door every single day, and fighting jet lag at the same time. But again, different story, different video for a different day. Once you get those two pieces of paper, then you go through immigration as you normally would. And again, if you are a dual citizen, please present both passports in or at the immigration desk. For me, I traveled on my Philippine passport because that was more agreeable to Asiana Airlines, and it was just less of a red flag in their system. But when I arrived into Manila, I actually showed both my US passport and my Philippine passport, and there was no problem at all. I got my stamps, got my luggage at the baggage claim, and then finally presented this piece of paper, which the holding area gave to me in Station 2, which was a piece of paper that allowed me to leave the airport. So this piece of paper was actually reviewed by the Philippine Coast Guard, and what the Philippine Coast Guard did was radio to my private car, which was waiting in the parking lot, and then the car came to pick me up. The driver came out of the car, verified the information, also verified his identity, and I was able to be released from the airport. Again, that entire process took 2 hours from start to finish, from the time that I landed, got off the plane, and got to the inside of the car, taking me to the hotel. Once I got to the hotel, the entire process was quite easy. They actually waited up for me because I arrived at 2 o'clock in the morning, but they were super nice, and here I am just waiting for my swab test. And as I said, once I test negative, I will be able to leave the hotel and go back to my condo in BGC. So I hope that helped you guys and gave a little bit of a synopsis and a little bit of a summary of my personal experience on how it was to fly into Manila and be quarantined in a hotel on my own dime here in February of 2021. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below or shoot me a DM on Instagram at ohnoitsericgo. I'll put a little link to that up there or maybe down there. And again, in a couple of other subsequent videos, I'll show you guys some footage of me going through the entire booth process. Like I said, all the hotel booths and whatnot in the holding area, as well as give you guys a little tour of my hotel room that I've been cooped up in here for a few days. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to this channel, throw me a like, hit that like button, and of course, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.